Welcome, everybody, to Mild's Culture Plate, the Patriot Philosopher special edition on gaslighting. I am your host, Mild Kevin Miles, and it is December 26th, 2022, the day after Christmas, and I want to talk to you about gaslighting. Don't have any whiskey here, not drinking whiskey. I've been a little ill, a little under the weather. So I'm just drinking water and giving you my mind here. I want to bring up something here. This is from Goodreads quotes. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. We know that they are lying. They know that they are lying. They even know that we know they are lying. We also know that we know they are lying too. They of course know that we certainly know that we know they are lying too as well, but they are still lying. In our country, the lie has become not just moral category, but the pillar industry of this country. Now, I wanted to talk about the concept of gaslighting because Webster's Dictionary has named gaslighting their word of 2022. And there are several instances in which you could place the word gaslighting, from the medical industry to the psychology industry to your own personal life, interpersonal relationships between romantic partners. But, something we like to get into here on Mild's Culture Plate is the idea that government and media cooperate to lie to you. Not just to lie to you, but to tell you you're crazy for not believing their lies. So let's go to one of the worst websites on the internet. In Wikipedia. And bring up the Wikipedia page here. Let me actually restructure this a little bit. Excuse me. Bring up the Wikipedia page here on gaslighting. In fact, let's crunch this over a little. There we go. Gaslighting is a colloquialism loosely defined as manipulating someone as to make them question their own reality. The term derives from the title of the 1944 American film Gaslight, which was based on the 1938 British theatre play Gaslight by Patrick Hamilton, though the term did not gain popular currency in English until the mid-2010s. The term may also be used to describe a person, a gaslighter, who presents a false narrative to another group or person, thereby leading them to doubt their perceptions and become misled, disoriented, or distressed. Often this is for the gaslighter's own benefit. Normally, this dynamic is only possible when the audience is vulnerable, such as in unequal power relationships, or fearful of the losses associated with challenging the false narrative. Now, I know people who are fully willing to gaslight themselves. Now, if you've been following certain YouTubers, there's been a lot of discussion in the communities I'm in online about the male female dating strategy, and there have been a lot of infighting and drama and people drama, right? Shit that I don't like to get into. But there's a certain amount of gaslighting that has to be involved in dating. And what I mean by that is whether you're online dating or whether you're talking to someone in person, you've got to kind of lie to yourself about the odds that you're not meeting a crazy person. You got to lie to yourself about the odds that the person you're talking to might have a mutual best interest at hand. And that kind of gets played out to its extremes. And what I mean by that is people are more than willing to state what they're looking for, right? But if they really knew what they were looking for, if they really knew what goals to pursue that were available, that weren't just delusions. And don't get me wrong, I want to be very clear about this. Let me go full screen here. I want to be very clear about this. Gaslighting isn't just delusion. It's the willingness to accept the delusion that's been foisted upon you. But, like I said, I have met people who are willing to foist upon themselves a delusion. And, you know, usually gaslighting is referred to as a historical thing, like events that didn't happen. You tried to make me believe that events that didn't happen happened. Or vice versa. Tried to make me believe that events happened didn't happen. In a manipulative way. But, nay, there are other people who are willing to manipulate themselves into believing that a certain set of events could happen that they know couldn't happen. So they will lie to themselves, essentially, about what they're looking for in the dating market or what they're looking for in an interaction between another business or any other kind of relationship, or what they're looking for from their government. They will lie to themselves about what the possibilities are and gaslight themselves about the historical nature about their involvement in these kinds of relationships. Pardon me. But, you know, that's just one example. Let's get into some of the examples Wikipedia has here. The etymology derives from the title, the 1944 American film Gaslight, in which a husband uses mental trickery to convince his wife that she is mentally unwell so that he can steal from her. The title refers to the gaslight illumination of the house that seems to waver whenever the husband leaves his wife alone at home. The term gaslighting itself, it's not in the free screenplay or mentioned in the movie. Gaslighting was largely an obscure or esoteric term until the mid-2010s when it broadly seeped into the English lexicon. You know what? I'm going to... I want to click this, and I want to see Chronicle of Higher Education by Ben Yagoda. Oh, and of course they have a fucking paywall. Okay, well... According to the American Psychological Association, it once referred to manipulation so extreme as to induce mental illness or justify commitment of the gaslighted person to a psychiatric institution, but is now used more generally. The term is now defined in Merriam-Webster as psychological manipulation to make someone question their perception of reality, leading to dependence on the perpetrator. New York Times firstly used the common Garoon form gaslighting in Maureen Dowd's 1995 column. However, there were only 9 additional uses in the following 20 years. Gaslighters have many techniques, including obfuscation. Abuser deliberately obfuscates an issue. Withholding. Abuser pretends not to understand the victim. Countering. Abuser will vehemently call into question a victim's memory in spite of the victim having remembered things correctly. Blocking and diverting. Abuser changes the conversation from the subject matter to questioning the victim's thoughts and controlling the conversation. Trivializing. Abuser makes the victim believe his or her thoughts or needs are not important. Forgetting and denial. Abuser pretends to forget things that have really occurred. The abuser may deny or delay things like promises that are important to the victim. Although anyone can deny or delay, the gaslighter does it regularly in the absence of real external limitations. The gaslighter may make up or create artificial barriers to allow themselves to deny or delay that which is important to the victim. Hold, please. Okay. So why is this important? Why did I want to cover this word? Well, because for the last few weeks I've covered many things, from elections to the Twitter files to online censorship to the COVID pandemic. And in each one of those topics, I've encountered at least some of these here telltale signs of gaslighting. Now, how many of you, just going down the list, just deliberately obfuscates an issue? You know, when Joe Rogan said that he was able to beat COVID-19 by using the human version of a medicine that is sometimes used to remove parasites from horses. That last little snippet, it's horse medicine. It's horse medicine. That obfuscation right there. They're gaslighting you. They were gaslighting you into believing that a medicine's not really a medicine. Abuser pretends not to understand the victim. You know, I can't think of how many times someone would say something about the election and it's, well, no, we have to have faith in our elections. Well, yes. But in order to have faith in our elections, we have to have justice when our election processes aren't properly followed. So, not understanding the justice part of having faith, not understanding the accountability part of faith in something like our election process, pretty damn important. Abuser will vehemently call into question a victim's memory in spite of the victim having remembered things correctly. Again, back to COVID-19. How many times has Anthony Fauci said that he didn't say something that he said? And was willing to lie in Senate committee hearings when called up on it by Senator Rand Paul. Blocking and diverting. Abuser changes the conversation from the subject matter to questioning the victim's thoughts and controlling the conversation. Now, if you caught my very last live stream, Let's see here. You saw a video in which the attorney for the governor-elect of Arizona stood up, addressed none of the issues that were at hand in the lawsuit, and merely just said, well, we have to have faith in our election process. Yeah, here it is.
Who goes out and tells their voters, don't vote on day 1 of voting, early voting, day 2, day 3, all the way up to day 26 of early voting? Wait to the last second. That's political malpractice. You reap what you sow. Your Honor, the burden has not been met. When people come into this courtroom without evidence, there should be a day of reckoning.
Without evidence.
This has been happening all over the country, Your Honor, and it's got to stop. And it's got to stop right now.
There was lots of evidence, lots of testimony that happened.
Your Honor, right here.
This is gaslighting.
This
right here is gaslighting.
We got to get back to respecting elections.
Respecting
elections.
elections.
All we have, Your Honor. Different religions, different creeds, different ethnicities, different backgrounds.
Things that don't matter.
One thing that makes us American.
None of this matters.
And that's we believe in choosing our own election, our own rulers, our own governors, our own mayors, our own presidents. And we do that through elections. And because of our forefathers' experience, those elections are split up. The 50 different states and all the different counties.
He says that like it's a bad thing. But anyway, enough of this jackass. We saw that video in my last video here, but I just wanted to kind of bring it up. Let's bring back up the Wikipedia on gaslighting. Let me bring it up where I can read it. Okay. Abuser makes a victim believe his or her thoughts or needs aren't important. Well, we saw that in that last clip too. But, you know, how many other things? How many other issues can we find that our media, our government, that social media has censored and told us, well, no, that's wrong think, and has turned out to be the truth. And we're seeing that over and over again with the Twitter files. And those of us who have been called conspiracy theorists and crazy for years have been saying the same thing. The government intelligence agencies are working with media and social media to limit what narratives we're allowed to hear. So they talk about psychiatry and psychiatry and psychology here. Self-help and amateur psychology, motivations, learned behavior, habilitation, medicine. But here we go, politics. You know, it's like there's still a narrative out there. The JFK assassination was a lone gunman who was then shot by another lone gunman. And if you don't believe that, you're a bad guy. Because despite evidence to the contrary, despite there being congressional hearings that found a conspiracy at the heart of the assassination of the President of the United States, you're still a weirdo and a nut job if you're concerned about such things. When terror attacks happen, And you're concerned that the narrative doesn't add up. Because what you're seeing in real time on the news, from firemen removing bombs out of the building in Oklahoma City, from people talking about secondary explosions on 9/11. Now, I'm not saying that FBI involved bombings are the only way to think. But I know that the news reports from that day, the eyewitnesses from that day, don't add up to the official government narratives of those events. And trying to tell me that, well, what I saw in the news didn't happen. What I saw on ongoing didn't happen. Anyway, in popular culture, okay, looks like there's been a lot more use of gaslighting in the media. And then, yes, in 2022, Merriam-Webster named gaslighting as word of the year due to the vast increase in channels technologies used to mislead and becoming common for the perception of deception. Now, before going live, I did a little just thought experiment, and I typed the word gaslighting into Twitter. And what came up was several little clips and videos, several posts of varying different topics. One of them was of the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau talking about how conservatives are your friends and how you shouldn't alienate conservatives, despite going on rants about how peaceful protesters are evil and anyone who supports them are evil and blah, blah, blah in previous speeches. That's gaslighting. Acting like there's a different history. Acting like you just switched your opinion on something. Acting like what happened didn't happen. That's gaslighting. Remember, we know they're lying. They know they're lying. They know that we know they're lying. We know that they know we know they're lying. And yet they still continue to lie. And it takes such a bold stance of lying. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to find another quote. And I'm getting different attributions, so I'm not gonna get into it. But you know, the Nazis believed that if you're gonna lie, lie big, right? Be big and bold with your lies. Because it's the little lies that are less believable. But surely something so giant and absurd which is kind of funny because then you call, they called the election movement, the movement to find fraud in our election process, they called that Donald Trump's big lie, right? And that's the funny thing. The crazy left wing are never short on their attempts to utilize Nazi propaganda to further their cause. So calling Donald Trump's election reversal efforts the big lie is kind of funny because, what's the lie? Where's the lie? Who's lying? And why? Hold on real quick. Folks, there's a certain amount of confession through projection that happens on a daily basis here in this country through our media and through the crazy left-wingers you encounter in places like Twitter. And look, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican, but I am a conservative. So when I hear people tell me that I'm killing their grandmother by not taking a certain health treatment, that's gaslighting. That's a big lie. That's a big lie. To blame anyone for murder, for not wearing a piece of cloth over their face, or taking a medical treatment. And now we're seeing, in the Twitter files, we're seeing that the government and media tried to pressure Twitter to censor anyone who had anything negative to say about the government's response to COVID-19. What's a bigger lie? The courts didn't intervene on behalf of Donald Trump. But there were courts that were taking people's children from them for not getting vaccinated. There were doctors who literally lost their license for not following the CDC recommendations. We just got done with a very happy Christmas. And if you're not a Christian, sure. This isn't about you. This is about whichever religious or secular holiday you observe in the month of December and January, trying to be close to family and friends. Look, I'm a person who, let's be frank, my politics don't, it's kind of harder to be friends with me if you're a mainstream, what do you call them, drinker of the fluoride. It might be a little harder to be friends or family with me. So forgive me if I'm a little cynical on the family and friends, but you know what? You still find reasons to come together with people, to see through the bullshit, through the lies, through the propaganda, and find the one aspect of humanity that someone has, and relate to them as a human being. That's how you overcome gaslighting. Now, I didn't even read that habilitation section on the Wikipedia page because, frankly, I know. The truth is the only thing that can expose lies. And there are people who legitimately will have been conditioned to never hear the truth, because the truth always comes with a certain amount of propaganda. And apparently, Katie Hobbs' team in Maricopa County have now filed for sanctions against Kari Lake's lawyers to criminalize election challenges. Fair enough. Sorry. Just kind of that news popped up on my screen as I was scrolling through other stuff. But folks, we live in an extremely Orwellian time, and the reason that term gaslighting was not a part of culture for so many years is that we had another term for it. We really did. We had another term. It was called Orwellian. 1984, Orwellian. Animal House. George Orwell accurately predicted the ability to use propaganda terminology to flip words on their head and make them mean something else, to change history into whatever a power authority wants it to be. So here we are. We're in 2022, and we have so many people looking for what's trending on Twitter, or now what's trending on Instagram and Facebook, for their opinion of reality. We had one of the most watched civil trials in history this past summer, when Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard for her gaslighting him. And then the media has continued to try to present a narrative of events that did not happen in that trial, and talk about things that happened in another trial in the UK like it matters. It doesn't. That court was assuming facts. Assuming facts. The Virginia court was asking for proof of fact. And that court found for Johnny Depp. That jury found for Johnny Depp. And now we have the media telling us, well, now abused women have to be careful what they do. No. Abused women have to be careful not to gaslight and abuse their men. That's it. Or their partner. You know, there's a reality. There's a truth to reality that's deeper than any propaganda and any stat. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm the Patriot Philosopher. If you tell me something's bad, you have to go deeper than the stat. You have to tell me what fundamentals of humanity make something bad, not just these thrown out stats. Stats can be manipulated. But philosophy, the philosophical building blocks of society, the things that make a culture, the things that make things important, you know, the idea that the Second Amendment gets thrown out the window, or the First Amendment gets thrown out the window, or the Fourth Amendment gets thrown out the window because it's been 250 years and technology just couldn't understand the fundamentals of privacy, or the fundamentals of speech, or the fundamentals of self-defense. That there isn't an underlying philosophy that transcends time, that transcends technology, that transcends any argument you can make for banning guns, banning free speech, or allowing the government to intrude on the daily actions of its citizens. That we could just toss the Constitution by the wayside because, oh, it's just old. That's gaslighting. That's telling us our history doesn't matter. It's another way to scam progressivism. It's another way to scam your ideal nature, to deny the nature of what humanity really is. So, here we are. We're told grooming is a hateful word. It's a slur for LGBT people. When it's not, it's a slur for people who want to sexualize children. And if you identify that way, that's your problem. We're told that little old ladies carrying flags through the Capitol building are insurrectionists. Deserving of heavy prison sentences. But yet a government that would take its FBI and create internal channels to Twitter to silence American voices and to make news stories go away in the lead up to election, that's not an insurrection. That's Russian disinformation. Even though no Russians were found to be involved in this story. Are you getting it yet? CNN told you. Don't go look for the contents of the Hunter Biden laptop, because that might just be illegal. Let us report to you on it. Let us tell you what the story is. Don't go research it yourself. Any self-respecting news outlet would say our reporting can be backed up and verified if you go look at it yourself. They wouldn't tell you that we're the only people that can tell you what's really happening. No. You know you're being lied to, folks. I know it because I knew I was being lied to before I started distrusting the government, before I started distrusting the media. I knew there was something wrong before I popped the red pill and went down rabbit holes of conspiracy video after conspiracy video. And you know what? I'm going to ask you folks to do me a favor. mild.locals.com. That's my little Locals community. Again, Locals asks people to pay a subscription fee. I'm not asking that. I don't know what it looks like user side. But I'm going to try to post some of my favorite conspiracy theory videos that I think question the narrative in a very important way of certain events that haven't been debunked. I don't just look at the conspiracy side. I look at what the debunkers are saying. And let me tell you, when somebody says to you that fires and basically the desk chairs and papers being on fire close enough to the core column of a building can weaken that structure enough that it crumbles and falls in its own footprint. That force is that vicious and violent. Office chairs and papers being on fire. But thermite detonations. Now again, I'm not advocating this theory, but it's one that's out there. The same people who said the first thing are saying that thermite detonations would require such planning and setup to be carried out on so many floors of a building in order to make it collapse in its own footprint that it would be extremely unlikely to have happened. The same people tell you that the force of a few office fires is more powerful than the force of a few key-placed explosions. And that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know to be like, yeah, you didn't debunk the theory. You didn't debunk it. Now, I don't necessarily believe that theory, but that makes me question your motives even more. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, if you could share with me, even on Twitter, my Twitter handle's below, share with me your favorite conspiracy theories, whether down in the comments, and I mean documentaries, you know, show me a documentary or a video that talks about a narrative that the government is lying about, because I guarantee there's a ton of them out there. And with Alex Jones being censored, we need as many videos as we can. We need as much information spreading as we can. It's time to stop the gaslighting and start telling the truth to each other. Because frankly, if we continue to let the FBI get away with their gaslighting, and a lot of it is coming from the FBI. If we continue to let the FBI get away with their gaslighting, such as sending a mixed bag of 12 informants and FBI agents to create a group of radicalized people that are only 4 people versus the 12 to kidnap the governor of Michigan, and at least 2 of them didn't even know what the hell was going on and vehemently refused to participate. And then the FBI comes in, we're your saviors, we're the winners, we fight for justice, and we're going to stop this terrorist plot. The terrorist plot that they created, that they funded, and that the only people who didn't give their wholeheartedly was put on trial. So yeah, it's time to start spreading the news. Not the media, the news. The real news. So yeah. I mean, I can't tell you on Twitter, I can't tell you to go look up things like died suddenly. I can't tell you to go look up things like a noble lie, Oklahoma City. You know, saying things like that might get my channel content struck. But check me out, mild.locals.com. Check me out, Nerf Mild on Twitter. I have a Facebook page down in the description. And I have a Rumble channel down in the description. I'm hoping I could eventually grow enough to pull people over to Rumble and over to these other platforms, because, quite frankly, I can't say what I want to say here on YouTube. Because they want to gaslight you. They don't want you to know the false narratives that have been debunked and the questions that haven't been answered. Now, I'm not going to say conspiracy theories are always the truth. They're not. They're just flat out not. There are a lot of conspiracy theories that are so far-fetched, so far out there, that they're not the truth. But I'll tell you what. They're based in more truth than a lot of the official government narratives about those certain events. And that, to me, is more important in hearing and letting the individual user be shocked by and do research themselves than to just we're here to ask questions, folks. We're supposed to. But now they demonize. They make people feel crazy. Are you crazy? Are you crazy for watching me right now? Are you crazy for watching some pervert in his bathrobe in front of a bunch of Batman comics? Are you crazy for watching me question my government? We'll see. We'll see. Because whether it's Gamergate, COVID-19 or MAGA and elections. Each thing that the media and government lie to the people about, or lie about the people, wakes up a whole new generation of people to the scam, to the gaslighting. And it creates a whole new generation of people who just refuse to participate in the official narratives, in the organized narratives. Anyway, folks, give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video at all. At all. Please give it a thumbs up. Share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Any of those buttons down there, click them all. Most importantly, come back and chat with me on a future live stream. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about gaslighting. Tell me what you think about... Tell me a topic that I didn't bring up that the government or the media or the social media has been gaslighting us about. Tell me your favorite lie. Are there nuclear weapons in Israel? That's a question people ask. Who was responsible for the Gulf of Tonkin incident that kicked off the Vietnam War? What is Operation Northwoods? You know, these are questions that deserve answers. Questions that the government has lied about, that the media will continue to lie about. Be a thinker, not just a free thinker. Be a relevant thinker. And I don't care if you disagree with everything I've said in this video. I don't care if you disagree with me politically. Unless what you're advocating is violence. And I want to make this perfectly clear. I'm not advocating for violent revolution at all. I'm advocating for information and peaceful disavowing of false narratives. So yeah, I don't care if you disagree with everything I've said in this video, as long as you're not being violent. I love you. And I don't care if you have the grossest existence in my purview. You deserve to live. I do not do this to marginalize people. I do not do this to deny anyone a peaceful existence. I do this because I want people to wake up and realize the lies they are being told about the indoctrination of children into degenerate behaviors, and government's participation in criminalizing peaceful knowledge. And the United States Constitution, and whatever it once stood for, trying to bring that back to our lovely country. So, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure exactly what my next stream will be, or when it will be, or even if it will, even if I will live to see my next stream. But I will say that I hope you tune in for it. And I hope that it's entertaining and informational. Because that's why I do what I do. I do this stream because eventually I want to get good at being both entertaining and informational. Sometimes that requires calling a groomer. Sometimes it's calling CNN a bunch of fucking liars, propagandists. Sometimes it's pointing out conservatives like Eye Patch McCain. For being snakes. So, till I catch you next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub that shit in real good. Please, leave a comment below. Come back and chat with me next time. Take care, everybody. Peace.